right, let's try that again. I was making a video about self-driving cars and it got interrupted. So I didn't make a complete video, and I don't currently have access to a video editor where I could stitch things together, so I'm just gonna start over. I distrust self-driving cars. I won't ever willingly ride in one. Given a choice, I will refuse. And that's because I'm a software engineer with long experience since 1996 in software development projects, and not once in all of that time have I been part of a project where the developers dictate the timeline. And what that means is that the business, the money, determines the timeline. So when you want something like we need a feature where the software can use the little radar sensors on the car to determine if something is close to it or not. And then the engineer comes back and says, okay, with this size team, this many resources, we've broken it up into these workable parts, these aspects we can separate among the engineers and let them all work on it in parallel. So we're increasing our speed, we're doing everything efficiently. We think it's going to take 9 months. And the businessman says, that's a joke, right? We promised this to the customer next month. What? What were you thinking, promising a feature without even consulting the engineers? So, yeah, like that's just how it goes. So the business people have all the power. They get to say, you're getting paid for this, do what we tell you. And then engineers end up working stupid long hours, and the quality of work is never as good as it could be. And for products like a text editor, a web page to order things, whatever, like, bugs aren't a matter of life and death. The medical field, and I have worked on projects related to the medical field, there's a lot more focus on documentation and being able to show that you're using best practices and making the right decisions, but it's still pushed by the money. Like, that's still the most important aspect. And even in the medical field, like, think about how often medical software fails at hospitals, and that's mostly because they haven't wanted to pay to update it. Like, it's still really old. Like, just look at it and you'll see that the interfaces are unintuitive and cluttered and just poorly laid out. Navigation through the various areas of the hospital software that, you know, they use to look up patient information, to record patient information, to take notes, whatever. Like that software that runs on those computers is old and bad. But it was bad even when it came out. Like, it was doing the exact same things, like, and it didn't have to be. But, and I'm guessing on this one, guessing that the money people didn't give a crap, only that it was done, or like beyond anything other than it getting done, and that they could push the product out the door and get their money. So, given that software development is almost entirely about speed rather than quality, the idea of a self-driving car is ludicrous to me. Like, there's no way to trust it. Like, the number of bugs introduced, and then with all the Bluetooth connectivity, and even like cars providing Wi-Fi, like all of the ways to connect to the car's computer, the idea of cars being hacked is terrifying. And then even beyond that, like bad actors, people intentionally introducing bugs into car driving software. Like it opens a whole new avenue of car risk, driving risk. Yeah, it's just, from that perspective, awful. Now, another bad aspect of self-driving vehicles is self-driving ground vehicles, I'll say, because things like airplanes don't have the obstacles that cars have. It's just not it is not as difficult an environment to write code for. I mean, we've had autopilot, which can handle keeping it's essentially like cruise control. Funny story, actually, there's a lot of airplane software that's just really bad. But that's a whole nother video. But autopilot is a much simpler proposition. It still has the problems of bugs, even intentionally introduced ones. So, I mean, I'm still not a huge fan of autopilot, but given its simplicity, like being like cruise control, that I'm more okay with. But back to the ground environment for cars. Think about the information that humans take in order to drive their cars. In ideal circumstances, we have our nice lines on the road, we can see the edges of the road, we can see the other cars on the road, we can see the traffic signs and signals and lights. We have a lot of sources of information to tell us how to drive safely. The thing that computers and software are going to have a hard time with, in my opinion, are the non-ideal situations where there are no lines painted or they've worn out, where there's sand or snow or leaves covering them, or it's raining to the point where it's hard to see. And so the self-driving car doesn't have the same level of ability to process the information and understand the information that those other signs would give them from other cues. Okay. Sorry, just a construction zone, and I'm trying to make sure I don't crash. So there we go. I'm driving, and I'm giving the appropriate level of consideration to that effort, and it takes priority over me making this video. So, right, back road. There's some trees, some mailboxes maybe, leaves and dirt and rocks and whatever else, making the edges of the road indistinct. And the human has no difficulty with that at all. The computer has to correctly judge from clues constantly, and I see that as a thing that computers just won't be able to do well. Or at the very least, we're not close. And AI, like the learning stuff, but how many years of practice is that AI gonna need in order to achieve the same level of skill that a 16-year-old can achieve in a month? Well, 1 year, to give them experience with all the seasons. Yeah, sure, computers are faster than our brains, but the code you have to write to make a computer make a decision like one of our brains, it is crazy. When we see a snowy road, we're fine. We don't have any difficulty at all. The computer has to process it and understand what to do with each piece of information. And I just don't think it's possible for it to do as well as humans. And then there's one more aspect of self-driving cars that is almost humorous in the absurdity, because humans make moral decisions when driving, and like the example of somebody crossing at a crosswalk when they don't have the light, right? And there are people on the sidewalk around it. So maybe you're going too fast to stop in time. So now you're deciding whether or not to hit the person in the crosswalk or hit somebody on the sidewalk. Like, you cannot slow down fast enough. What's the computer gonna do? The person programming it has to give it like priorities for the decisions that it makes. Like, or let's say that the person in the crosswalk is there inappropriately, but if you turn to avoid them, you're going to hit something that will stop you suddenly and possibly injure you. So does the car say, nope, we're not going to injure the customer, the person driving the car? We're just going to plow through this person that's in the crosswalk. Or do they say, nope, the person getting hit by the car is likely to suffer a whole heck of a lot more than the person in the car, so we're just going to crash the car. So we're talking about programming moral decisions into a computer. And that idea scares me. I'm trusting the programmers from this company that are motivated by the money again, to make moral decisions for me. Like, what am I gonna do in a bad situation? And my decision making might change if I have my kids in the car. It's so nuanced. Morality is something that I don't think that computers can handle well. So, yeah, overall, the idea of a self-driving car is appalling to me. And I hope that either it becomes recognized as a bad idea in general, and it's given up on, or quality becomes the more important factor, to the point where it's going to take literal decades to get there, to get to the point where they make a self-driving vehicle software that is acceptable to even someone like me, who is a tremendous skeptic. And they're going to have to provide evidence, and they're going to have to prove that it's secure enough, that it's not even attached to any of the car's communication systems, that updates are done manually at car dealerships or something, so that anything that gets into the car's self-driving system is checked and double and triple checked and has gone through rigorous testing. The amount of effort to make it reasonable is astronomical. And the stuff that's been happening relatively recently is just not at that level. And there is evidence of it. The self-driving cars have gotten into accidents that would have easily been avoided by a human driver. They're just not good at it. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, that's my old man complaint about self-driving technology, and I hope my opinion was interesting to you. Thanks for listening.